wrecked the NFL world. So this game was 10-0 in the fourth quarter, and Green Bay had complete control of this game. And all of a sudden, within 37 seconds of game time, you look up and wait a minute, it's 10-10.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with this game, dude. I truly don't. This game was like it was bizarre from start to finish. I didn't think it was going to be that much of a defensive slugfest. I think it was
3-0 at halftime, and neither offense could move the ball past midfield.
No, it was like there was a force field or something at the 50-yard line, and neither team could break through. It was the weirdest thing. And I've said this on the air multiple times, both on here and over on the Sports Room Talk Show. Myles Garrett is most effective when he has a Robin across from him, whether it was Zadarius Smith for a couple years or Jadeveon Clowney. And yet, even though he's basically by himself, this defensive line is making life absolute hell on opposing quarterbacks.
They are. Did you see the one clip where, I think it was 3 or 4 Packers offensive linemen were all turned towards Myles Garrett, and there was like a gap in the middle of the field?
Yes. It's crazy how this is working. They have quite the challenge going against the Detroit Lions, though, this week. I actually said this. If I were Kevin Stefanski, I would have had the team in the building watching Monday Night Football last night to get ready for the Lions. But I know I had the Packers beating the Ravens in the Super Bowl. I think you had the Packers in the Super Bowl.
I had the Bills beating the Packers.
Okay, so we both had them, I should say, in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And
which they could still get there. Don't forget, my Eagles started 2-2 last year and then went off that run. But we do need to see more from Jordan Love. I don't know if you've seen that stat that's flown out there, but Jordan Love, without a turnover, has when he's winning, he has 48 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And then when he's losing, it's 20 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. It really is based off, does he turn the football over or not?
I agree. But you and I have also talked about this a lot, Brandon. The fact that the quarterback is the most important position in
God. If I was a Browns fan, that would have made me even more furious as to why Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback of the
Yes. Trust me, this is not because I'm a Joe Flacco hater. That's not why I'm going to say this. But I watching the offense against the Bengals and in this game against the Packers, I was like, we have opportunities to actually, play well offensively. But Joe Flacco is 40 years old, and he just stands there like a statue.
He is a literal statue in the pocket. He does not throw the football down the field.
No.
Defense is stacking the box. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of Quinshon Judkins, despite his off the field issues as a prospect. I'm a way bigger fan of Dylan Sampson. I want them to use him more. And I think Harold Fannon's been a very good tight end out of Bowling Green and coming in Njoku. I am absolutely pissed off, because I have him in fantasy, by the way, of what they're doing with Jerry Jeudy. They can't get him the ball.
No, but I think if we had Dylan Gabriel or your guy, Shedeur Sanders, in there, he would be getting the ball.
I mean, at least the guy could move. At least he could step up in the pocket. At least you could run some RPOs, do something. This offense, the only reason why they scored a touchdown is because of the interception return that got them back to the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
And even then, it got to 3rd and goal, and there was a pass interference on Jeudy that set him up at the 1-yard line for Judkins to get the score. So, The Browns won. All credit to them. 13-10, great game. The offense was terrible. Like,
Yeah.
and I thought the Eagles' offense was terrible in the first half. At least we scored a touchdown
Yeah.
legitimately.
I agree with you 100%. And for the most part, Micah Parsons really didn't do anything.
No, though he did have some impact, even though he didn't get the sack. There were some times, especially when you wind up at linebacker, where the offensive line got confused and Rashawn Gary was able to get in a couple of times. So that there he had impact. Again, it was a weird game. This Browns team, to me, Josh, tell me if you feel this way. Are they the 2023 Browns just with worse quarterback play, where they're going to have a really good defense at home? They're going to probably have a bad defense on the road and just hope the quarterback gets you enough points, I guess, to barely win a football game?
Like, I would feel better going into this game against the Lions if we had Dylan Gabriel or Shador Sanders at quarterback. I really would.
Shador has like no chance to start. Like I don't even think we need to waste time on Shador. He's not even running scout team. So
Yeah.
which again, I don't understand. I don't get it. The Browns, I said it when they had the draft. This team has no receivers. They're 31st in spending at the wide receiver position, and probably 12 of the 13 million they spent on receivers have gone to Jerry Jeudy. And yet they didn't upgrade the receiving room at all. They turned 2 running backs and 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I know. But in terms of the Packers, like, here's my thing. You and I were both saying Jordan Love could be in the MVP conversation.
Yes.
You have him
winning. I did have him as the MVP of the regular season. I think that's probably now gone out the window. But here's the thing. My biggest shock for Green Bay's offense this year, it's not even that Josh Jacobs, like Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, are having okay years, not as great as last year. I thought they were going to unlock a new part of their offense with Matthew Golden, the first-round receiver out of Texas. And it's going to take some time, but he's just not making the impact that, say, like Emeka Egbuka is doing in Tampa Bay.
Yeah. I would say he's the favorite to win Rookie of the Year right now,
now, yeah, I think, Amari and Hampton now will probably get a shot because Najee Harris is out for the year for the Chargers. But, yeah, I would agree with you because it's certainly not Cam Ward, I'll tell you that.
No, but, with the Packers, a lot of what they want to do this season depends on Jordan Love. I told you this during our prediction show. Like, the Packers drafted a wide receiver in the first round for the first time in 20 years. A week before this season, they trade for Micah Parsons. They're basically saying, okay, Jordan Love, we've got a Super Bowl-made team around you. Take us there.
They also paid Jordan Love, which if you remember, I was not the biggest fan of giving him all that money, but we will see.
Yes. Right now, I hate to say this, but he looks like the weak link on the team. He does.
Well, Josh, you know what scares me about that conversation? This is the same conversation people were having about my team a year ago. Oh, yeah. Jalen Hurts the weak link. Oh my God. But here's the thing: is Jordan Love as clutch as Jalen Hurts? His one playoff win came against the Cowboys, who, by the way, how about them Cowboys? How about that Jerry Jones? How about that CD Lamb going down? How about that abysmal defensive performance by former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus getting absolutely destroyed by his former team?
Yeah. That flea flicker was beautiful.
Beautiful design, beautiful throw. And again, maybe it's just because Caleb Williams knows Matt Eberflus' scheme. That was easily the best game Caleb Williams looked as a pro.
Yeah. Easily. By far and away. It certainly was.
And that started, the thing that I think as a Bears fan will be encouraging from this game is not the fact that Caleb played well. That Bears offense looked like a Ben Johnson offense. Reverses, run game, play action, harmony. And, we said it. Dennis Allen, shockingly, I don't think got enough flack for what he had given up the first 2 weeks to the Minnesota Vikings and then the Detroit Lions with over 50 points. Excuse me. Boy, did that Bears defense bounce back in a big way and shut down that Cowboy offense.
Yeah. And now they've got the Raiders this week, which.
And that's an interesting game because Geno Smith, your guy, has been very turnover prone, Abby, and Vegas is very desperate for a win right now.
Yeah. And they just got beat by Marcus Mariota.
And they're going to be at home, and I think they're going to give it their best. But their offensive line can't block. And the crazy thing is, Josh, what we talked about with Chicago after week 2, after they lost that to Detroit, was, oh my God, is Caleb Williams the guy? They're 0-2 again. 2 division losses. The sky is falling. They win this game against Vegas. Now their bye is in week 5, but they're 2-2 going into the bye. And if you're 2-2 going into that bye, you can sit down and you can say, here are things we've done well. Here are things we don't do well. Let's lean into the things we do well. And I think this could be a turning point in the Bears season.
Well, here's the thing is I remember when we were doing our top 5 games last week, you had this game number 2.
Yes.
And your primary reason was if the Bears lose this game, that could be the end of the Caleb Williams era.
Yes.
Chicago. I remember you specifically saying that, Brandon.
Yes. And you know what? It's funny how one game does change the narrative because I think I'm right. I think this game saved the Bears season. And I think if they beat Vegas next week, that will again save their season. Because I think if you go 1-3 going into the bye, you can get better, but you're probably not a playoff team. 2-2, you look up in that division. Green Bay will probably beat Dallas. Detroit will most definitely beat Cleveland. We'll see about Minnesota and Pittsburgh. I'd probably give the edge to the Vikings there. How good did they look, by the way? But that's why it's important, I think, for the Bears to win this game.
I agree. But here's the thing, though. I hate to do this because this has been the conversation ever since that game, but was it because the Bears actually figured it out offensively, or was it because Dallas just looked inept on defense?
The Cowboys don't have any horses anymore on defense, and they're getting exposed. They cannot rush the passer. And, yeah, they had a nice win in overtime against the Giants, and they played well opening night against Philly. But I think this is who Dallas is going to be this year. We both predicted. I think you had them at, 4 wins? I had them at 5. This is where I think that they're going to be. Especially, I know George Pickens is there, but that CeeDee Lamb loss is so gigantic because while George Pickens is used to being a number 1 receiver in Pittsburgh, I don't know if he's still that alpha male, and is he going to be causing drama in Dallas the way he did at the end of his time in Pittsburgh now that he's the number 1 receiver?
But I loved what Rex Ryan said on Get Up. Instead of the Doomsday defense, that was the Dumbsday defense.
All right.
The one throw where I forget who the receiver was, but he was literally just standing in the back of the end zone, wide open. Yeah. You probably could have made that throw. I could have made that throw. My grandma could have made that throw. Jesus.
All right. Let's get to other takeaways for week 3 of the 2025 NFL season. So here's the thing, Josh. I think the thing we both got wrong, raise my hand. You said this team was going to be the worst team in the AFC.
I did.
And I think they're going to win the AFC South now. I think they're for real. And I said, listen, they got better pieces than I think many people realize. The question was, could Daniel Jones deliver? I didn't know if he could. The Colts have punted 1 time in 3 games. I don't care that they have played the Dolphins and they have played Denver and they have played Tennessee. They have a good test this week against the Rams, yes. But this team is for real, and they are getting back to what they were in the early Frank Reich, Andrew Luck days of the franchise.
And how about the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah,
Also,
I mean, I think those two teams are the two best teams in the AFC South. The ironic thing is Houston and Tennessee play each other this weekend. Obviously, the loser's completely out of it. But Houston, I don't want to put it all on CJ Stroud, but I am very concerned for that franchise going forward.
yeah, CJ Stroud has completely regressed. Because if you remember, after he won that game against Cincinnati in his rookie season, I came on here and I was saying he should be in the MVP conversation.
You did, and you were telling me into that rookie year, you said you need to pay CJ Stroud now. And I was like, I need to see it a little more. Now, again, Josh, I don't think this is a CJ Stroud problem. I actually think this is a DeMeco Ryans problem. Now, I'm not saying fire DeMeco Ryans. Let me make that clear. What I'm trying to do here is I want to make a comparison between three NFL teams. Between the Houston Texans, the Buffalo Bills from a few years ago, and the recent sort of late Ben Roethlisberger, early Kenny Pickett Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, all three of those teams haven't gotten was this. Ben in his prime, CJ Stroud, young rookie quarterback, Josh Allen, we was just coming of age sort of in Buffalo. All three of those teams had very smart defensive coaches, but all three of them have struggled with the offensive line. And I don't know what it is about defensive head coaches, but defensive head coaches seem to need the right coordinator. Josh Allen struggled in 2023 because he had Ken Dorsey. He has turned into this all-world MVP candidate because of Joe Brady. CJ Stroud had a very good year under Bobby Slowick year one. He's not been the same since. If DeMeco Ryans does not find the right offensive coordinator, he is going to be fired probably midway through next year. That's what they need to do. They need to find the right coordinator. And I don't know what the defensive head coach has the sensibility as an offensive head coach does. I've talked about in the past.
At least Buffalo has been able to build up their offensive line now. At least
yes, but it took them how many years? 5-6 years. Hell, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Denver coming into the year as you were, but Sean Payton rebuilt that offensive line when Russell Wilson was there in an offseason. Andy Reid, every time the Chiefs have a bad offensive line, what does he do the next year? Rebuilds the offensive line. Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni have probably the two best offensive lines in football. They're both offensive coaches. So Green Bay they've always had an offensive coach and a very good offensive line. I don't know what it is about defensive coaches and their inability to coach an offensive line.
Yeah, and I would say even though we've given up some sacks, for the most part, the Browns have a decent offensive line. It's not great.
Except now it's going through injuries again for the second straight year.
Yeah, Jawan Jones is injured, out for the season.
Conklin's hurt again, so.
Yep. So we'll see. That's even more of a reason why I would like Dylan Gabriel starting. But I'm more impressed by the Jacksonville Jaguars than I am with the Indianapolis Colts. Especially because they should be 3-0 right now. They really should.
You can make that case. Obviously, they choked away the game against the Bengals.
Yes, they definitely choked that game away. How do you lose after Joe Burrow goes out and Jake Browning comes in?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that Trevor Lawrence can play. Maybe Trevor Lawrence has found the guy that, saved. It's like, Sean McVay coming in and saving Jared Goff, or, Caleb Williams getting saved by Ben Johnson. Maybe William Cohen is the guy who saves Trevor Lawrence.
You very well could be right. But we got some breaking news earlier today that the New York Giants are done with Russell Wilson. And Jaxson Dart will be starting this week when they take on Justin Herbert and the 3-0 LA Chargers. So this is a tough test for the Giants, specifically Jaxson Dart. I know the Chargers don't have Khalil Mack, but that Chargers defense is not easy to figure out.
I believe they're number one in scoring defense in the NFL, or at least they're in the top 3. I know they were number 1 a year ago, and Jesse Minter has done a great job. My reaction,
James is playing like a heat-seeking missile. He's like, ball is there. I'm gonna go get that sucker.
and the other thing with this is, so if Jaxson Dart is already starting, why did they bring Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in? Why didn't you just trade one of them and let the kid start week 1? What's the difference in him learning between week 1 and week 4?
I don't know. I don't know. But
Like if it's week 1 and week 10 after a bye, sure, okay. But this makes no sense to me, besides the fact that, and I know you were listening to the Sunday night game on mute because you cannot stand Chris Collins or talking about Patrick Mahomes, but they did talk about Jaxson Dart, and what Chris said was, in the Giants building, they have compared Jaxson Dart to Patrick Mahomes, and I've said, oh my God, this kid makes some incredible throws. You are not going to believe when you see him on the field. And could this be like a Baker Mayfield situation where, he comes in, the coach gets fired, and then it's like a wash year 1? I don't know.
So here's the Giants' upcoming schedule. They've got the Chargers this week. Then they're at the Saints. Then Thursday night football against Philly.
Yes.
Denver.
And then at Denver, and then at Philly again.
Yeah. And then San Francisco. And then at Chicago.
And at Chicago, where, again, if the Bears are in playoff contention, they're going to need to win that game.
And then Green Bay. At Detroit. New England on Monday Night Football. And then their bye week isn't until week 14.
So they could have waited one more week and started them against at least an easy opponent in the Saints. It smells like to me like Dable and Shane are trying to save their job.
I agree with you 100%.